wonderful, wonderful morning to our listeners, our viewers, how everyone is doing this morning. Hope everyone had a great weekend and looking forward towards a productive week ahead of us. It's Monday, it's the 14th day of April, and welcome to The Point. I'm your host, GT, alongside Mr. Co-host with me this morning, Mr. Sylvan McIntyre. Mr. McIntyre, good morning, sir. How you doing?
Hey, good morning to you, GT. I am fine, blessed, and giving thanks.
Yeah,
always.
Great weekend for me. How was your weekend, sir?
Well, my weekend was exquisitely delightful. It was really good.
Yeah.
I had a bit to do. It was a mixture of a lot of different things, so it was a fantastic.
A mixture of a lot to do.
Yes.
I like the way you put that. There's a mixture of a lot to do. Yeah, I did a lot for the weekend also, but it was not a mixture. It was just one particular thing I focused on.
Right.
Saturday and Sunday, one particular thing focused on.
Oh, okay.
And I was able to accomplish it, so that was a plus for me also.
So which day was your Sabbath?
I don't really have a Sabbath.
You have to slow down and rest and have some time.
I think that the rest comes at the night. The rest comes at night.
Okay.
So at night, I try my best to go to bed at least by 8 p.m.
Right.
When it's possible.
Okay, that's a good.
By 8 p.m., usually by 1, 2, I'm up.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm up already, but I try my best. So I try to get those power hours. You know, those power sleep hours, where you get 2 or 3 hours really powerful sleep.
And it is sound.
And it's sound. I try to get that in, because then after that, I'm up. Did I say jumpy time, right?
Yes, the jumpy hours.
Once again, welcome, sir. Welcome to our listeners and viewers this morning. It's our, of course, usual program on a Monday. We try to educate our public in various ways that they can enhance themselves.
Absolutely.
And enhance their communities. Of course, just that preparatory mindset they have, and just to make a life easier for themselves and others. So we have an interesting subject matter for us to discuss this morning, and it goes along the way. But when we get to that, but let's get into I like to refer to the flowers segment.
Yes, man.
Yeah,
the
flowers segment and the review and so forth.
GT, it would really be remiss of me if I did not make a very profound apology to all followers, listeners, and viewers.
Yeah, we get beat up. I got beat up last week.
You told me that. So GT was saying that I met a gentleman down at the port. Good morning, sir. I think it's Mr. Murray. Those guys who are listening, the Skibbidos and those guys at the port. Pleasant good morning to you. One of them said, the host keeps saying you're coming. And you said you're right on the call. I said, yeah, I was really trying to come. I said, actually, I was on a flight coming in, and the flight was a little behind. By the time I got Glen, I realized, I said, you know what, I just couldn't make it.
Let me don't force it.
So I really apologize for that. But it gave me an opportunity to link with some people, because I also visited the Sister Isles and Karakou Piti Matnik. I want to say a pleasant good morning to you. I have a bit to refer to you on later on in the program. But I did meet some of our listeners and followers, GT, up there. Taxi people, airport people, and so forth. They say that they follow us.
All right.
They listen, sometimes they don't call in and so forth. And I think sometimes our viewing and listening and followers, audiences, they are beyond what we sometimes actually know.
Yeah.
And we maintain that the program seems to be doing so much to people. They say, I listen, we are addicted, we always want to hear the program on Monday morning and so forth. And that is, again, an encouragement to us. Every time they say that, GT, I feel paid.
Yeah.
Somebody say thank you, I feel rewarded.
Yeah.
But in the flowers over the weekend, it's good. We spoke sometime and we labored about the Grand Tang area.
Yeah.
When last you drove that side?
I haven't been up in about 3 weeks, to be honest. It's
so
about 3 weeks max. For some reason, things are going pretty good up in here.
Yeah.
So there was no reason for me to transfer somebody from time for the last 3 weeks. I can monitor remotely, and for most of the things are working properly.
Okay,
that
great.
I do pay attention to up there. So I didn't have, for approximately 3 weeks, I haven't visited.
Okay. So whether it is works and infrastructure, I think our Prime Minister is heading that ministry now and so forth. I've seen some marked improvement, and we are seeing, I think, fruits of our labor. Whether or not we influence the process, whether or not it was in train and so on, what we want to do is not criticize, but to contribute towards the developmental processes.
Yeah.
And so what's happening in Grand Tang is really encouraged. They're expanding on the drains and the corners that we spoke about, where they are cutting to do the drains and the little sidewalls, retainers. They are using the material, the dump, to put on the other side. So they build the opposite side.
Okay.
So you're getting a wider feel on the corners, on the street itself. That's good. And they're also doing some of the drains. They're concreting some of the drains and so on. that is really commendable. As a matter of fact, it is enhancing the beauty, the aesthetics of the area, Grand Detang, Pretty Rainforest.
Yeah.
It is really good. They also did some landscaping, cut the grass around, and we spoke about the flowers.
Yes.
And it's been maintained, I must say. And what we look forward to is seeing more of these flowers being planted along our streets. So it really creates that sense of beauty and give people an option in terms of where they can spend some downtime, relaxed time. And I see people walking from the Vendome area and from the Butch Grove, Lower Capital, St. Andrew area. They go up to Grand Detang, up to the Reserve Forest National Park, or as far as 1910. They get up there and get the fresh air exercise. That's really cool. Grenada, that's what we need to do. We need to encourage. But they need to plant some more, and cool. Coming on the heels of that area, I looked at the drains and I realized some of them, they are deep box drains.
Yeah.
And I would strongly recommend, except an engineer suggests differently, that some of those deep areas that they do as box drain, they can backfill those.
Mm-hmm.
And they can either make inverts or they can do slippers.
Okay.
The structure is there for that. Because some of these box drains, they are not even concrete, but the area is very deep. So a vehicle slide off the road, it goes down, they can create some damage, or it may not even come out easy. Now, if you create the slipper drains or you put inverts in those areas, what you do, you widen the road space and you give traction to vehicles that may happen to veer off. They wouldn't necessarily go right down and not be able to. They can also come out.
Yeah.
So I think they can reconsider that with some of the backfill material or some of the aggregates that they can pull from other places. They can build up a some matting, and they can concrete and make slipper or inverts. And in other cases where you must put the slipper drains, that I think the span of them is 18 to about 24 inches. In most cases, to me, they look too small. But in most cases, I think they should also cap them so that you can get also more road space.
Okay.
And that really, while people say that the Grand Detang area, you have not had, major accidents in that area, which could be true to an extent, but one major one would be one too many. And so not just creating the widening of the corners, but I think a lot of people's mental capacity and the how your psyche reacts to things is also important in terms of you maintaining road safety.
Yeah.
So if you realize that the area looks wider, the valley is not very obvious, it gives you the confidence in driving and is less scary.
There are folks who just for various reasons would not transit.
They will not drive because it just looked too scary.
Yeah.
It looked as though the valley is right there. So they're enhancing that. They're putting on some guardrails, some of the guardrails that they know they need to be power washed and cleaned up or painted so that people can see them, and they need to put some more. But I think it's really encouraging to see they're using some of the boulders, some of the backfill the material to backfill, and it looked really good. But I think also they can put some plants, flowers, and other trees to maintain the strength of the roadside. So,
I've been hearing, with all the pluses that you've been hearing some concerns about drivers who use it, especially the heavy truck drivers. Mm-hmm. Folks, I've been getting calls, last week, even though when you were here last week, we had someone calling in regards to that. The heavy trucks that are traversing the Grand Detang area.
Okay.
And they were saying, if they heard some conversation before where these trucks were not permitted to use that particular hill, especially the heavy trucks.
Oh.
You understand? There's no confirmation on it in terms of if it was mentioned that they shouldn't, but they were saying that they are concerned about these heavy trucks that are traversing the Grand Detang area, knowing the narrowness of the road and the size of the trucks coming, especially. Right. And you mentioned for individuals who the females and the male who may be driving along and you see these trucks coming in, and for some reason or the other.
It's a huge intimidation.
I understand. So they were saying, maybe the truck drivers who do use it, maybe should refrain from using the Grand Detang Road. You understand?
But I'm not too sure that is official.
Mm-hmm.
It may have been a concern over a period of time that was raised, and people may have suggested. But if it is made gazetted or otherwise, signs and so on will be posted.
Yeah. So
I don't really think that they're not really permitted. If they are, and the signs are not posted, it's a fault on the state apparatus. But it's really a concern. I don't think it's only the Grand Detang Road, but it's the roads across Grenada. So most of our roads were not designed to accommodate those heavy trucks. And if you drive along that Lotus Lane, you would realize that there is always some aspect of the asphalt that move away.
Pushing
and even if they fill the holes, you can see the asphalt just move, and it creates a bump rather than a ditch. And a bump is as dangerous as a ditch in most cases.
So it's actually 2 in 1 right now, you know. It's a bump and a ditch at the same time.
Correct.
Because when it ditches to bring up the roof, and it raises to a point, so you go down and up at the same time.
So it leaves a lot to inquire in terms of the engineering and the recommendation as to what foundations have been laid for what levels of vehicles. And the mere fact that we are progressing, and we do see that development do come at a cost. And that's some of the cost that we're paying for the development that we're seeing. But development doesn't have to go, we don't have to go into it blindly. We can plan, we can project. And I must again commend the planning and I think physical planning and development department. They're doing something, they're trying to enforce some things.
It's now called the PDA, as they refer to it in an abbreviated way. PDA.
Correct. But there's a lot more that they should do. And we clamored for them to be strengthened. I think they were. And we're hoping that much more could be done to enhance that. And a lot more studies must be undertaken in the things that we do. What we are reaping now is because we've done a lot of ad hoc projects and what we call developmental initiatives, but a lot of technical, formal studies have not gone into them, so we are suffering the consequences.
You know, people who are given jobs who have minimal skill in terms of doing it. Yeah, I can make some concrete, so they give you the job, and not knowing the right ratio of the mix and stuff that should have gone into it. And you know, we end up with these problems after.
Going past that, if you look at most of our cities and our towns and so on, they have to be rebuilt. They have to be a lot of business spaces have to be relocated. Yeah. Because the way we developed in the past, buildings are actually on roadways, porches and awnings and so forth. They're right on the street. On the street, yeah. So they limit your ability to even be safe walking through, and so going forward. There are a lot of things in the pipeline for Grenada, and I think those should happen. But in the meantime, we have a process called retrofitting, redesigning, and so it is not too late in most cases for us to be able to do that. We can retrofit some of our buildings. We can redirect some of the things that are happening in the interest of safety and everything else. And I maintain in the south of the island and other places, the Morris Bishop Highway is one of those places, and the Dusty Highway, we should, and I will not cease until we make some adjustment in putting sidewalks and railings and so on for our pedestrians.
What about all that walkover incident?
That walkover isn't coming, and you're going to hear us. It's over a year since it was told that parts of it are in here, and we've not seen any commencement of that process. We're going to beat it a bit more to ensure that things happen, because people's lives
I think it's due time. It's
overdue. It's overdue. I'm not the only one. The AmSafer is not the only foundation that have been raising the safety issues. People have been speaking about it. Yeah. And now that we transferred because of the volume of traffic in the south of the island, we moved to the Dusty Highway. The Dusty Highway has to be cleaned up. Yeah. There is this green container just before you get to the entrance to the SGU. There's a 40-foot container that's been sitting there for over a month. What is it doing on our roadway? It should be removed. Somebody, law enforcement, road and infrastructure, otherwise, should say that is not a place for that. There is somebody, I think, who has one of those mobile food trucks and so packed on that street. And a little north of where these containers are, there are some skips, or skids, how you call them, to pick up garbage. They're on the street. You go a little further up, and then there are huge trucks. I understand the huge trucks that are packing because there are a lot of hardware buildings in the area, and they move material from time to time. That's understood. Yeah. Those are temporary. But you still move further north of that, and the stream of vehicles along the sideway that people walk, that people should pass, and then those 8 barrels or tanks of used fuel sitting on the roadside, they should be moved.
And creating that obstruction.
And I'm wondering, we've been speaking for this over a month, we've been mentioning that aspect on that area. And I'm still wondering why something is not being done about it. Yeah.
Well, we hope that today's conversation will see some movements in some of these things taken care of. Because they do cause an obstruction.
They do.
Cause obstruction. Some of them, they're unsightly.
they're very unsightly. And Grenada is a beautiful place, man. I maintain. I've been across the world, and I still don't want to live. I have not lived anywhere longer than X time. Yeah. But I still want to maintain Grenada as home, and I love it. And a lot of people love it. People come here and they want to buy lands, they want to buy property, they want to live here because we're nice, we're pretty. We need to be able to maintain that, or we need to enhance it across.
All right. So back at that, we drew for a break. Let's take it. When we come back, we get into, of course, our feature conversation. When we come back, stay with us. Hey, folks, stay with us. It's To The Point, Classic Radio, GBN TV. It's To The Point here. We'll be right back after the break. Don't touch it down.
Attention all.
My name is Pianki Toussaint. I am a proud representative of the Maggie brand and by extension Bryden and Miners. And I'm here to tell you that we are very excited to be once again the title sponsor of the GBN Maggie King of the Grill. This is an event that we have partnered with for well over a decade. It's a family fun environment. It's a great way to taste the culinary exploits of some of Grenada's finest chefs. And I'm telling you, if you're not there, you're missing out on something grand, right? This is something that our brand, Maggie, a household name, your culinary partner, is very, very happy to be a part of. And you'll get to see some exciting, not just see, but also taste some delicious and exciting things from us on that day as well. So we are looking forward to having you at the GBN Maggie King of the Grill. See you there.
Get ready, Grenada. The Maggie King of the Grill is back and bigger than ever. On Saturday, June 7th, Monroe's playing field transforms into the ultimate battleground for grill masters. Think you've got what it takes? Then fire up those grills and show your skills. Registration closes Friday, April the 11th. So don't miss your chance to compete for that sizzling prize and bragging rights. It's food, fun, and flavor, all powered by Maggie. To register, call 407-8458. Maggie King of the Grill, where flavor rules. See you there.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers. And, of course, those of you via social media platforms, good morning. Those of you via who, of course, I would like to send a message or two via WhatsApp, letting you know that the WhatsApp is up and running. I think innocent actually used it this morning. We had it solved. What was it on Friday? We had a benefit issue with it. And that's been resolved. So if you need to call in when we get to the stage when we do accept calls, you're free to do so via the WhatsApp and the direct line. But McIntyre, of course, one of our feature conversation this morning, we want to talk about or offer some tips, especially to, and you didn't mention the Sister Isle of Carriacou, which was certainly going to fit in nicely in our conversation this morning. You know, building back better, especially after a disaster.
Yeah.
You know, folks may start off by maybe asking the question, the building back. You know, you're going to be the post-disaster now.
Yes.
You understand?
Yeah.
The recovery has taken place, I'm assuming. Whatever needs to be recovered and so forth after the disaster has taken place. Now building back. There's a process of making it better so that if for some reason or the other, let's go back a wee bit to Hurricane Ivan. Mm-hmm. We may not have seen a lot of the damage in Beryl, especially on the mainland Grenada. Yeah. Because of the folks building back better after Hurricane Ivan. Right. You understand? Folks have redone their roof, and it would build to the certain specification that would minimize it being blown off by the winds at a certain speed and so forth. Yeah. So that process will fit in nice now, especially for the islands of Carriacou and Petit Martinique. Yeah. Now, in terms of, I want you to give us some of those tips, sir. Right. You visited, you have seen the process that have been taking place in terms of folks building back their homes and so forth. Are they following that particular trend that you think, or the tips that you would like to offer, what you've seen taking place? Yeah.
So thank you. So there's one of the phases in the disaster management cycle is called reconstruction. Yeah. That's after you've gotten to the recovery phase. Yeah. And within the reconstruction, that's the area that you intend to integrate the whole aspect of mitigation. Yeah. Mitigation refers to modifying either the hazards or trying to limit the impact of hazards for things that you really cannot prevent. And so in the reconstruction and rebuilding processes, mitigation aspects must be included. And they've used this that cliche, we've had it since Hurricane Ivan, building back better.
Yeah.
And maybe to a large extent it has been abused, but it served its purpose in saying to people, we need to do things differently and we need to do it better. And so I'm sure, as you mentioned, a lot of initiatives went into doing things better. And I could attest to the fact that quite a bit have been done differently and better.
I would agree.
And we are definitely in a better place than we've been 21 years ago almost, to stand the impact of those ferocious natural hazards that impact us. You know, we are better off to deal with it. But building back better is not just for the physical infrastructure, it's not just for construction.
Okay.
Building back better has to be all-inclusive, which includes the intangibles, which include the mental capacity and the social interventions that we need to include. And so after a disaster, you have a number of persons who would have suffered in different ways. They may have lost material, they've lost sentimental things that they held on to. They've lost livelihoods, they've lost quite, and sometimes you can't put measurements on them. Recovering those things then may not be an easy, it's a hard, very steep uphill trend or task. And sometimes we tend to focus on, if we give some persons some material or we tell them to rebuild and we say what to be done, that it is expected to happen. And my own experience over the last 20 plus years in the field has shown me or taught me that you just cannot put something out there and expect it to be implemented and to happen the way it should.
So you're saying it's not always that easy to start the process?
It is not very that easy to start the process. And apart from that, there are people who would say to you, yes, but they already understand. There are persons who say to you, I will and I do, and they really can't. There are persons who have been given material and assistance and other things, and it's right there. And they can't move because of support.
Why they are not using it. Is it that's where the psychological part of it comes in?
That's an aspect of it too. You have things that you want to move with, but there isn't the support system to do it. My recent visit to Carriacou and PT Martinique brought out quite a number of things that I've heard, that I've seen for myself. And let me mention this. I do not want us... Carriacou in itself is beautiful. The people are wonderful. It's a unique place that belongs to the state of Grenada. But they have their own uniqueness, and they have a particular culture that we have to understand. And we have to work with them within their culture, which is not easy sometimes to maneuver through. But we have to be able to coerce them into doing and building and getting it right. And my understanding, they are a proud people. They believe in themselves, and they believe that there's a lot that they can do and achieve for themselves. And in most cases, it ends up not being the case.
Yeah.
And so what we need from mainland point of view, which I think I am not seeing sufficient of, is that almost a hand-holding and a more leading of the process of building back better. The social intervention that I spoke about, I know there's quite a bit that went in through, but you can hear people who are still traumatized over what they went through. And when you look at the physical infrastructure, and in particular I speak of buildings, dwelling houses, and even public buildings and so forth, one of the complaints that I heard is that they say that there's a short of the labor force, the workforce. How much are we still doing as mainland Grenada to support that initiative to rebuild Carriacou and PT Martinique? And not just rebuilding, but we are just a couple months, maybe 2 or 3 months away from the hurricane season, and maybe about 3 months away from 1 year since Beryl impacted them so devastatingly. And so the anxiety and the uncertainty will step in. And I looked at some of the hard work that were done. And you can see that people in their own interest of wanting to recover their life and their livelihood, they have not done most things to standard. And that could be understood, because what people want to do is to just get their life back together. Now, there has to be a systematic follow-through of what's happening. I am not too sure if that process is implemented or whether there's a shortage of that step-by-step walkthrough with some people. Because you look at some structures that have been put up, roofs, etc., and we advise strongly against the use of nails to galvanize. It don't hold as strong as screws. But were screws made available? Or people just using the nails because they want to recover quickly? And I saw a number of roof and coverings that were just placed with nails.
Yeah.
And some of the rafters that were put up and so forth, with even those extension, the porch and so forth, and even proper roof structures, they had no rafter straps. Whether or not we were able to attract, and we are still pushing for having straps, screwed down onto the main structure, is a question that we have to ask. And the persons who went into rebuilding really quickly, they will sacrifice, or they will have a loss again should we have a similar situation in the next couple of months. And whether we have a direct impact or not, wind speeds and atmospheric condition that cause more convections and eventually get more rain will cause those structures to become more vulnerable. And if they're not built back properly, if they are not reinforced, if some of those mitigating measures are not included, these people will go through the trauma and the psychological effects of an Ivan and a Beryl all over. So the point I'm making in so many words is that we need to follow the processes, and we need to have a system of follow-through in place and understand throughout the islands and the northern part of Grenada, do an inspection of those works that have been done and be able to document closely those persons who are suspect in terms of rebuilding really quickly, and whether or not we'll have to have them on the priority list to be placed into shelters if we are faced with another threat.
You mentioned something that triggered a thought to me in some way or the other. When you said that the authorities need to have a holding hand in terms of the process of building back better, especially from the Sister Rise of Carriacou and Petit Mandé.
Yes.
Are you saying that's a reference that everyone just seems to be doing their own thing to just get it done?
I hope that's not the case.
Without the authority playing a major role. The particular ministry that is responsible, do they have anyone going around and paying attention to the process of how the individuals are rebuilding their homes and so forth? In terms of, you don't want to give out the material and so forth, and then, some havoc has been done.
Yes.
And then, a system develops once again and the whole process reoccurs.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yes.
So you're saying that, maybe the authority, hopefully, we're not blaming anything, but hopefully the authority is moving in that direction of a system.
But if I have to blame, I won't be afraid to blame.
I know.
Yes, definitely.
But we just don't want a reoccurrence, and then it's like a wastage, and then we have to do it over again if it was done, taken care of properly the first time.
Yeah. I want to safely assume that a process of what we are speaking about is undertaken, whether it's sufficient or whether it's policed to ensure it happen is the question I would have. And I would hope our program would be listened to and we would get a response, and persons in authority or otherwise would come forward to say to us, this is what we are doing. And I'm seeing there are a lot of good things that are happening in Grenada, but we're not aware of it. And our conversation, GT, would raise the concern and create the voice for people to understand what should be done, where it should be done. And if it's happening, then if more need to be done, then let it be. And if it isn't, then the awareness will come so it happen. And why we are saying this is not just blowing our trumpet. Lives are at stake. Our senior citizens and our future, the youth, they have to face this, and it gives a learning opportunity as well for those who've not had the experience of the Janet, the Ivan, Emily, and to an extent Beryl. They will understand how the processes of reconstructing, rebuilding, redeveloping, and so on, how that phase would go. And so the intent here is that Grenada become more resilient.
Yeah, not too dependent on the state to assist you if you get it done the first time.
And not just the state. not just to depend on our region and the world to give us those handshakes and things all the time. We have to prove to the world that we've learned our lessons well. And not just learning lessons, but lessons learned and implemented. So the things that we learned in the past, we are implementing them. I know Grenada, in many ways, have been used as a model in a lot of disaster initiatives.
Especially after Hurricane Ivan.
Of course. And we want to be able to continue in that vein. And this is why my voice would not become dull in any quick time on those issues, because we need to speak about it, because I understand what people feel internally and how it reflects on them and how it could affect their lives and their livelihood down the road. We don't want people to be walking around and staring at the sky and other things and just smiling without a joke. And so forth. That is mind-boggling. We don't want those kind of situations. Yeah. And conditions where we do not monitor the developmental or the reconstruction processes, we can have those situations reoccurring. So the general thing here is that we must intervene. And there has to be a very open and overt intervention throughout the next couple of months. Yeah. To reassure the people who are being seriously affected that we are with them and we are trying to ensure that things are done. People will be missed. We have the rebuilding process, and through the state mechanism, it is easier to be able to monitor them. But the individuals who want to build their house and to get back there, the state doesn't have a lot of control as to how a man build his house, except when he goes to physical planning and get permission.
They get the feel, well, Mr. Sylvan McIntyre has the financial ability to build back his house, so I just let him be.
Just build it.
Just let him be.
Yes.
You understand?
And then what happens, if we, as the state mechanism, we do not go in to ensure that the right thing is done, what happens? They become a liability now to the country because they get affected. We have to do the same thing. We have to beg somebody again to give them some, or to get something again to do it. And even if they're not begging, but they could help themselves. Yeah. But the process of getting things back and forth also would clog the system unnecessarily, and we could prevent that.
Yeah, and it hinders development to a point too. It hinders development.
So we did say we are going to give a couple hints as to what to do to help in the building back process. Yeah. And one of it, first and foremost, is to follow the building code and the guidelines as set down by the state. Yeah. Second, if you don't know, you should ask. And if you ask, you should get the clearance before you commence. One of the things people need to do is to ensure that they do what is called a review of what may have caused them to be in the position which they are in currently. So the things that caused my roof to have gone, my house to have gone down, what do I need to do differently or better? And to whom do I need to speak and what advice should I? The other aspect of the other point is, what material do I need and what's the grade, the strength or gauge of the material that I need to ensure that when I do better. Putting BRC in a decking where you have to go up on steel, etc., is not a process of building back better, is it? Mm-hmm. There's steel and there's grades of steel and strength that you require to do a proper decking. And people, because sometimes of financial reason or otherwise, you would see a concrete structure go up, other thing go up, and it probably look good. And you realize it is not resilient because the right thing was not put in. You have roofs, the roof will go if they're not secured. If your rafters are put on and the width between rafters is beyond what it should really be, you're going to sacrifice the integrity of your roof. And if the eaves and so on are beyond a particular recommended length of a foot, 18 or so inches, etc., or 24 to an extent, if you have those beyond, you are sacrificing your roof, you are making it more vulnerable to strong winds, etc. And if you're going to be building on stilt, your pillars, columns, and so on must be of a particular strength so that it could become more resilient. And when one builds a structure, for instance, if you're going to do your roof on a concrete structure, for example, there is something called the ring beam, and the ring beams and rafters has to be tied in and it has to be locked through. You can lock the rafters through the ring beam, and then you can still reinforce them in the middle through the pole line and so forth, you can reinforce them by using those rafter straps to keep it together. If people follow those simple tips, we can ensure that we'll be building back better. But most important, our mechanism must drive the process of monitoring, evaluating, and conducting inspections to ensure that persons who are rebuilding, whether it is private or public, that they are compliant with building codes.
Okay, in some countries, they, of course, if you're doing these kind of construction, there are inspectors who visit your property from time to time to make sure that you're following
And they lock you
the
down.
particular building code that you're supposed to.
And
if they notice it is not happening, the construction has to stop. And
They
you
lock-
have
they
to,
lock
and
it
it will
up.
now become an added cost to you to do the proper thing. You understand? Instead of just going through half-hour, sometimes what we get away with here in the Caribbean. You understand? I'm not
Yes.
saying Grenada alone,
No, the Caribbean.
in the Caribbean, sometimes we get away with it because there's nobody following up on you like a building inspector. Sometimes the actual engineer allows it. I just say, hey, good man. That thing will go
I
wrong
have a
until.
good friend in one of those states. He have done some things in Grenada, and he has a little bit of work that he thought he could have just done.
Yeah.
And he tongue and planning he did not submit to get passed to do it.
Yeah.
And he was not a contractor, but he went out and did some work. They passed and inspected. They charged him 10,000 US
Yeah.
penalty. And that, he could have avoided it.
By just getting the permission to do so. There are
getting the right
areas
people
where,
who has to be done.
in the US especially, a miner just paving your yard. You have to seek permission to have it done.
Yes.
Even it's in your own private property.
Yeah.
So and the
And
things in Grenada, folks will just do these things without consulting anyone, not even telling their neighbors I'm going to be having a ransom making noise and all of these things.
Right.
You understand?
Right. So I want to just let the people of Karakam Pitimat know that you are not just in our prayers as people just say pray for you and you go and do what you think need to be done, but we need to be physically there with you and give them the tangible support. And one of the things I saw is tremendous, the amount of work that has been done in terms of removing the zinc and so forth.
Yeah.
But what was heartbreaking was to see that the playing fields that were used and the stuff that were placed on them, and they are being removed as we speak. But
The after effect
of it psychologically, and other people still think that there would be stuff on those playing fields that remain with them. And I remember colleagues said to me in countries before where they had done that practice, that even now the footballers, cricketers don't want to even go there, even if they are redone it.
I mean, we understand the reason why they have to do it, but I think some thought should have gone into it before.
Yeah,
I think some thought should have gone in.
I
Knowing the
strongly
purpose of these, knowing the size of the island and so forth,
Yeah.
I understand what they had to do, but knowing the size of the island, I think some thought should have gone into.
Yeah.
Should not do that.
Most definitely.
So, Mac, we do for a break. We
take it.
Let's take it. Then we come back with another segment for you. Stay with us, folks. It's To The Point here on Classic Radio GBN TV. We will be right back.
When you need...
GBN presents the 2025 Maggie King of the Grill, Saturday, June 7th, Montrouge Plainfield from 11 a.m. Our partners, Maggie, the secret of great flavor, Grenada Distillers Limited, makers of Clark's Court, Grenada's #1 rum, Grenada Paper Products, makers of Cherish, Spring Soft, Harbour Bay, and Super Value Toilet Paper, and Royal, Quick and Easy, and Horizon Paper Towels, Budget Foods Inc., Classic Lighting, and Blue Bubbles PA Rental and Event Supplies. It's the 2025 Maggie King of the Grill, where flavor rules.
Get ready, Grenada. The Maggie King of the Grill is back and bigger than ever. On Saturday, June 7th, Monroe's Plainfield transforms into the ultimate battleground for grill masters. Think you got what it takes? Then fire up those grills and show your skills. Registration closes Friday, April the 11th, so don't miss your chance to compete for that sizzling prize and bragging rights. It's food, fun, and flavor, all powered by Maggie. To register, call 407-8458. Maggie King of the Grill, where flavor rules. See you there.
Hey,
GBN family, we've got a brand new home on Facebook and you need to be there. Follow us now on Facebook at Grenada Broadcasting Network -GBN. Stay updated with the latest news, sports, entertainment, and everything Grenada. Don't miss out. Like, follow, and share. Grenada Broadcasting Network. Stay informed. Stay ahead. First with the news. Fast with the updates.
Like a freestyle, the life blood flowing mile by mile. It's legacy, a beat that don't stop like Bob Marley said. One love on top, the sewage water out of sight, but it's always wrong, don't lose the light. From factories and wells so deep, corals, mangroves and fish they weep. Green water for the garden, keep it green. Save the cash and the earth gets clean. We use the water with a mindful mind. It's out of sight but never far behind. In nature, the answers always flow. Like water running pure, the cycle grows. It renews itself, same drop, same beat. It's all good, man, you got the heat. Water flow, water flow. No clean water, no vibes they grow. Protect our water, protect our future.
Time to go.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers. It's To The Point here on Classic Radio GBN TV. Welcome back, Mr. McIntyre. We want to jump to another conversation. We may not be able to go into it in depth today, but we want to talk a wee bit about enhancing pedestrian crossing.
Yes.
When we say enhancing it, I want to get a little bit of feedback from you, because we always think, well, when we say the enhancement part of it, there's a pedestrian cross.
Yeah.
It's painted or how
Yeah.
we do it.
Or not painted.
Or not painted. Some of them, is just for the purpose of vehicles stopping for an individual to cross.
Yeah.
What more can be done when you
A lot.
speak of the enhancement part of it?
A lot. We can expand on it and speak quite a bit, but we have an aspect coming up with lightings and other things and so forth that we could expand on pedestrian crossings and the effects, etc., and how we could create them. But pedestrian crossings, just like we mentioned before, it has the psychological impact as well as the physical appearance and otherwise that can cause people to feel safe or to be safe. And a lot less to be desired in terms of how our pedestrian crossings are maintained. And the other aspect of it would be the placement and signs that speak and lead to before and after pedestrian crossings and so forth, where they are placed. So a lot more need to go into sighting of pedestrian crossings, where they should be and where they should not be, and the signs that will tell you where they are and where they aren't otherwise. And then the other intangible is the education process to the users. People have called in on this program before, and people meet me and they ask, well, whose responsibility it is for pedestrian crossings? Should the driver be looking out for pedestrians, or should the pedestrian be looking out for the drivers of the vehicles? And I think I answered to an aspect of it that said it's a two-way. One has a legal responsibility and the other one has an implied responsibility because of safety reasons to ensure that both are intact before. There are so many different things happening with pedestrian crossing that I don't want to take the platform of the RGPF, but they've done some work in that regard. But from time to time, you see people not using our pedestrian cross properly. People standing up there and they're fixing their hair, ladies, and other people who are standing there not waiting to cross.
Or taking their very time to
Taking their very time to cross. And you have a driver who pulls up and beckoning or giving an instructor say, okay, I'm giving you the chance to pass because I see you. And the person would wave their hand and say, no, I'm not, I'm just waiting for someone. Is that a place to wait? No.
And then some folks with the bunks me down like mentality, pedestrians also, bunks me, I cross it. I have heard individual refer that to me already. Bunks me there. You understand?
Right. Remind me to talk about a little bit of safety coming into the Easter, because Easter weekend is next weekend.
Yeah, yes.
We have a lot of things, and as it crossed my mind, my intuition says I need to remind people of the safety issues. But one of the bigger things I need to speak about in terms of the pedestrian crossings, at night, lighting is critical. Grenada, I commend you for the solar lightings going across the country. But sometimes you wonder what thought goes into placing them, or how do we prioritize lightings across the country. And so I would think that pedestrian crossings should be well lit.
Yeah.
And some of those lights, maybe solar or otherwise, should be placed around every pedestrian cross so that they would spot on the pedestrian cross. The painting would be reflective as well of those lights so that motorists can see pedestrians crossing, because people ill-advised to cross with dark clothing or non-reflective. But you can't tell people what to wear if they want to wear something. But if the pedestrian crossings are well lit, we spend some time in putting some lights on pedestrian crossings across the country, it is much easier and lot safer for our pedestrians to cross or to traverse. And I think that's one of the things we'll be speaking more about lighting in the not too distant future.
Yeah.
And so on how we can have light pollutions and the effect it can really have across. But pedestrian crossing is one of those places that it must happen. Within the last 2 weeks, I've had a number of persons, I personally observed it, and I have people coming across and saying to me, people will get knocked down. And some of the places where people get hit or otherwise is because our lightings generally on our streets, they are not proper.
Yeah.
But we can have a start point. This pedestrian cross where people need to move regularly, we need to put lightings on them.
Yeah. Also, the concern of the appropriate places for pedestrian crossing. You know?
Yeah.
That's another cause for concern, because sometimes you see where a pedestrian cross is located and you wonder who came up with the idea of putting a pedestrian cross there.
Yeah.
Knowing the problem that could occur, not always a driver will be able to see a pedestrian crossing.
Yeah.
Depending on where those pedestrians are placed. You understand? So sometimes a lot of thought will be put into where those pedestrian crossings are put. Or is it even those that already exist? Is it suitable for being in the place that is that?
Yes.
You understand?
Yes. So,
but it's a conversation that we could expand on a whole lot more.
Yes.
A whole lot more on. We just have approximately 10 more minutes left on today's program. We'll give this segment to our callers and viewers out there. If you do have a question or two, you want to be part of the conversation that we have this morning, nothing out of the conversation, please, I beg of you. And if you want to ask a question on to them, so McIntyre will be able to answer. I'm seeing some folks from the WhatsApp is of course making some contribution. Let me see if we can throw this one out before we entertain the call. Someone is saying, we live in a place where hurricanes come. Mm-hmm. Think of three little piggies and of course the big bad wolf, the grass, the big bad wolf and the grass, and the wood house was blown down, and the house built by Bill Strong stayed. I've seen the houses that survive. They are built to defeat the wolf, and the hurricane huffed and puffed, and the strong ones survive. I guess you get a tissue good.
Yes.
So I guess you get to understand where the person is going. They also made a statement saying no one will climb their stairs to cross the road. Will climb the stairs across. I guess they're talking in reference to the
overpass?
The overpass that we're thinking. Someone is saying that. There need to be enforced laws that state to be cautious and stop for pedestrians. Someone is mentioning that. We also have another concern from someone. That individual. Most Grenadians build their homes but never do routine maintenance. I check my roof every 6 to 12 months, especially coming around the hurricane season. That's cool. That's cool.
Yes.
Let's take this caller. Caller live. Guess we lost that caller there. 435-2041. 435-2041. The lines are now opened. If you want to make a contribution towards the program, feel free to do so. Via the WhatsApp, feel free to do so also. Let's go to the phone line. Caller live. Good morning.
Yeah, morning, General. How is everything?
We good.
Very good.
Let's hear from you, please. Go right ahead.
Yeah, Mr. McIntyre, about beautifying the nation at this point in time with flowers. When the 70 uncle gave me plan to beautify the whole nation with flowers, people say walking Obia. When you say building wrong, so about that thing, I'm calling him a name, making him a bad name. But flowers are a beautiful thing to admire.
Yes.
So I plant flowers in my neighborhood. I my neighborhood destroying them. I plant flowers in the gardens and all as a volunteer to that free. All the flowers above we got cinema, I plant them and wait it.
Okay.
And when I plant flowers in the garden, the weeds are meant coming with it and cut out all the skin of the tree and kill it. I remind about 9 times now and they're still doing it. You know, I mean, I plant the flowers ordinary, I wait until they grow. Only catch up yourself now. The men who come and do the religion, come and cut it down until they cut it until they die. I mean, I not in the love me again if you continue that. I volunteer not free. Water the plants in the night and all.
Yeah.
How can I wait them right now for dry season? I wait them right now. I take some water by Ruby's gas station for the past weeks and things. I feel for water. This tell me I can take more water there. Get the water. Their meter.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much. I appreciate your contribution this morning. 435-2041, 435. Someone saying painting of the humps in the road are important. Someone is saying painting of the humps are important, especially and especially if it's done in a more reflective color. You know, some are painted, not only the white or the yellow that they painted is reflective enough.
Yeah.
Sometimes you as a driver, you don't see them.
It's just very
especially
flat.
at night. It's very flat. You don't see them. Let's take another caller. Caller, you're live. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning to you, sir.
Not me. People, have a tendency to believe that there is a pedestrian crossing by diesel with a hump. And as far as I'm concerned, and maybe you all, a hump is not a pedestrian crossing, except it has 3 demarcations. 2, I think, is 2 small lines and a middle line, which is supposed to be the actual pedestrian crossing. Now, some educators, be it policemen or individuals or educated people, or so-called educated, as a certain man would say, they give you the idea that you should look at them, make eye contact with the drivers. And I've already said, most of these vehicles have highly tinted windshield, where the drivers would sit behind or in front of them and drive. And I'm certain that the people outside the vehicles could never make contact with those highly tinted vehicles. And yes, for all, some authorities, maybe the policemen or the people who giving information in connection with the crossing, will tell you, make eye contact. I'm almost certain this is highly impossible. We must be given the right instruction by the right people. Mr. McIntyre, I'm telling you straight, you are giving good advice.
Thank you, sir.
But I'm asking myself, where were you in the early days when you were right up? Thank you very much.
Thank you, caller.
I was walking.
435-2041, 435-2041. That's the number if you'll be part of the program this morning. We have approximately 5 minutes left, which we could accommodate some more calls. Let's go back to the phone line. Caller, you are live. Good morning. Go right ahead, please.
Good morning, Mr. Telesford. Greetings.
Good morning to you, sir.
And to Mr. McIntyre. Mr. McIntyre.
Greetings, sir.
You really do make sense, you know. I've told you that prior and so on, but I wonder if you ever thought of how far you're reaching, quote unquote, the holders of the power and authority in this here country. Or people listen to you, I know, because from the time to time, but it's not reaching those who hold the power because they cannot see at that level, Mr. McIntyre. But there's a whole big debate on that. I want to ask you this question from your experiences scientifically and even on the side of engineering and otherwise systems are established as regards to road marking or, should I say, pavement marking paint. Mm-hmm. Which is the one recommended for speed bumps or what we call dialectically sleeping police? Is it white or yellow? Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
I think to answer that, thank you, Mr. Rolo. I think subject to anything else, it says reflective yellow should be actually the color. But in some cases, they use the white, and in cases, that's why you have what is called sometimes they use the zebra crossing, and the white helps to punctuate the zebra crossing, but I think the law mentioned reflective yellow.
Reflective yellow.
Yeah.
Okay. Caller, you're live. Good morning. You're welcome. Good morning to you.
Good morning, sir. Good morning to you and good morning to Mr. McIntyre. How you guys are?
We're good.
Hey, we good. Thank you.
You know, you spoke about a little bit about construction a little while ago.
Yes, sir.
And I was taking back that point. You're right. Sometimes, but one thing I realize also too, brother, is that sometimes we use the same measurement in mixing with the sand and the gravels and the cement. And to me, sometimes I believe that based on the quality of the cement, sometimes we need to add more cement into the mix to make it stronger.
You make good sense.
I believe that cement makes the mixture stronger. So more cement you use is better for that mixture. And I keep on asking myself the question. We say we're building back better. We have a nice little program going on right now. Building back house to people. And what people don't know is that if you don't give the right to the people in the house to build, you are defeating the same program. Because building a house, you can build a house. But if you miss out, let's say you miss out a screw, miss out nails, miss out this, miss out that, when the wind comes, it's going to damage our house the same way. So we need to give people that can build, look for builders. So we're giving party hawks the house to build who can build. They can't build. And they're going to look for masons and carpenters to help them to build a house. And they can't even advise the mason or the carpenter what to do because they cannot build for themselves. So we are defeating the same program what we're trying to do, build back better. We're actually going back to the same cycle of if a hurricane comes. That same what you build, you give a man who can't build, in the long run, the wind is going to mash up the same way. So we need to understand that even the same laws we put in place, we are still breaking it. By giving people who can't build a house to build. I bet you, Mr. McIntyre, if you have a house to build right now, you wouldn't give a man that is your partner who can't build. You will look for a builder, we will say, or engineer.
Yeah.
You not give a man who can't build. So what's the sense of me giving a friend that can't build a house and then you're going to look for somebody to build a house? It doesn't make any sense. So we need to move smart and think smarter and give people who could build a house. So in the long run, that house is going to last 100 years. Have a nice day, brother.
Thank you, caller. Thank you. And good point. Good point.
Good point. We taking a wrap?
Yeah, we are about to take a wrap. Of course, let's take our final call.
Okay.
And let's take this final call and then we take a wrap for today's program because it's already a minute or so to go before the top. Caller, you're live. Good morning. And I beg of you to be brief, please. You're my final caller for the morning.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, Gigi.
Good morning to you.
Yeah, Mr. McIntyre,
yes, sir.
I'm so happy that you're there because last week I called to mention the Central Police Station. It's an eyesore, and every time I drive past it, it makes me feel sick. Well, Mr. McIntyre, tell me, how long the scaffolding been in front of Central Police Station with the flag in between? It look like an old bit of rag, and the sign is in a terrible condition. Now tell me, Mr. McIntyre, what you're the man? You've been there. Tell me something. Why is the scaffolding still there after all these months?
Yeah, about 8 or 9 months.
Huh?
It's about 8 or 9 months since it's been there.
9 months?
It's about 8 or 9 months.
8 or 9 months. Yeah. So, well, tell me something. Is there anything? What's happening? Is it propping up the station or what?
I get your point, sir. I know you're saying that should be remedied. It shouldn't remain there so long. It is defacing the whole
you see, the point I'm trying to make is we just had the headquarters looking beautiful on Sylvan, right on the front line. The police station been there so long, and it's in that sort of condition. And it's in the face of people coming in, tourists go up to Charco, they come down, first thing they say, and that is the sort of thing, we're not seeing what's in front of our eyes, but we're seeing what's beyond. And that is my point, because I feel sad about the whole thing. Because all the things are there, it's in your face, and we're not doing anything about it. And, you know, my JD tell me, well, he haven't seen it. Well, obviously, he ain't going to see it because driving past is not really what I say. But, you know, it's an eyesore. And I really want you to look into it for me.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
For the people, you know, I mean, come on, guys. It's beautiful. So that's my point. That's my point. I just want, because you are the man in the front line. Let's go.
I get your feeling. Thank you very much, sir. I get your feeling.
But as I mentioned, I think it was put up that those scaffold done for the repairs after
just after Barrow.
Just after Barrow, right?
Yes, they put up there to do the roof and
I just never paid attention to it again.
Yes.
You know, sometimes something has been there that long, you lose focus on it.
It's been there. It looked like part of the building. It's been there so long. So
I understand. Mr. McIntyre, that's what we're going to take a wrap for today. Definitely. Anything in closing before we take a wrap?
Yeah, of course. Well, we spoke about the enhancing pedestrian crossings and some with lights. We speak about that. And we also spoke about building back better. We hope a lot more initiative and some intention could be given to Carrico and Petit Martin to guide them better, and not just the formal sectors, but the informal and the individuals who would need those kind of a hand to hold to get them to do the right thing or the better thing. And finally, I just want to advise Grenada, Carrico, Petit Martin, the Easter weekend is coming up.
Yes.
We do always have incidences of different kinds of emergency, particularly in water. If you're not a good swimmer, ensure that somebody who can swim is with your team. Yeah. Ensure that there's somebody who understands CPR. If there's a new drowning situation or a drowning situation, once the person gets out, no rocket science, get them on the back, do some compression on the middle of the chest, try to get 30 compression, pump them, check for the pulse, till they head backward, turn them to the side, pump again. In the meantime, somebody should have called emergency help.
All right.
If you have a wound or cut or so, no rocket science, ensure that you cover it to control the bleeding. And if somebody is not breathing, as I said before, you can just give them the chest compression rather than give them chest compression and breath, because the new CPR recommends that you can only do, or you could do, compression only and get the same result.
Okay.
But the general thing is to be cautious. Alcohol, heavy food, and carelessness does not go hand in hand with jumping in the water, whether it's the river or the sea.
All right, so be careful in terms of what you do. And, of course, be careful. Mr. McIntyre, we're going to take a wrap for today. We may not have a program next on Monday coming. Maybe of course, there's going to be some Monday, so it's going to be the following Monday.
Yes.
We'll be back with you, folks. So until then, have a good one, folks. We will, of course, want to thank all our listeners and viewers this morning. Join us again for another edition. That's what we say goodbye.